Welcome to Basement Tales with Sam Jackman, Charlie Einsman, Ed Grass, and Sandra Delancey. We have fun telling crazy but true stories about turning the worst possible property disasters into bags of money. Along the way, we'll pass along some important lessons to help you make cash on real estate. Sam and Charlie walked away from cubicle hell 25 years ago. Starting with no property, they created their own Clear Sky group of companies, sold hundreds of houses, bought dozens of rentals, and made millions in hard money loans. I'm Ed, a big firm litigator until muscular dystrophy made me find a hobby other than suing people. I miss it. Sandra's the normal person here with a real job plus some rentals. Her decades of friendship with the group, from office flunkies to property gurus, might help keep us all humble and focused on learning something. I wouldn't count on it.
Are we rolling? Are we recording now?
Oh, we're always rolling, man.
All right. Welcome to our podcast. Today we have a very special guest lined up. His name is Dr. Joe Asamoah. Dr. Joe has an MBA and a PhD, but more importantly, he's a real estate investor. He's been investing in real estate for over 30 years, and his primary expertise is what's called BRRR: buy, repair, rent, and repeat. We call it the BRR method. He's very popular in Washington, D.C. He's also in charge of, he's done a bunch of fix and flips in his past as well. And so one of the things about Dr. Joe is he's very impressive as far as his portfolio of properties that he owns in Washington, D.C. And so he's going to be able to share some pretty good insights on the rental situation and even the flip situation in Washington, D.C. And so I want to welcome you to our show, Dr. Joe.
Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome. And I met Dr. Joe many times. He might not remember, but we used to go to the same meetup first Wednesday of every month in Oxon Hill, Maryland, with our good friend Andre Johnson. So that's how I had the pleasure of meeting you. It's probably about 3 or 4 years ago, but our paths have never really crossed in the investment community, but that's how we met.
Okay. Again, thanks guys for inviting me to Basement Tales. It's really an honor, and hopefully I can share some good stuff for your audience. Looking forward to the discussion.
All right. Well, why don't we get started with your various experiences in Washington, D.C., from both the rental side and the fix and flip side?
Sure. Yes. I was born in Ghana, and we left Ghana when I was 5 years old. We moved to England, and then I came to the U.S. about 35 years ago. After about a couple of years in the U.S., I bought my first house in Washington. This is 1987 in Columbia Heights, Northwest, for $47,000. At that time, they told me I was getting ripped off. I was paying too much. I was getting duped. I was getting scammed, you know. Obviously, the Columbia Heights of 1987 is not the Columbia Heights of 2021. And
What were the rents back then?
That time, I think that house, it was like $700 or something.
Wow.
And it was a house. I still own that house. And so essentially, that was a traumatic experience. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. I knew nothing about real estate apart from just going to some guru class. And I just bought a house. Okay. So I just jumped in and it was a disaster. But anyway, I don't want to bore you with the details, but essentially what happened was that...
How did you finance it at that time?
This was I met this guy at a meeting. It was at the Howard Inn. It's closed now, but the Howard Inn. And essentially he said, I'll sell you this house, no money down.
Oh, okay. Good.
And just like the guru said.
Right. Well, good.
And there was some tenants in the home. And I asked him, how are the tenants? He said, oh man, they're great. They're fantastic.
Did they happen to be Howard University students?
No, I was straight from England. So I thought, all Americans are honest. They tell the truth. So I took this man at his word, And I ended up buying this house, no money down, and found out afterwards that the tenants hadn't paid him for 3 months. There was a water bill of $5,000. And they're going to sell the house in a tax sale. Okay. Oh. And this was my entree to real estate investing. Okay. And it was, these tenants didn't want to pay me. They gave me every single excuse in the book. I didn't know anything about landlord tenant laws in DC. So if you want to talk about stories, hey, let's start.
Well, you fit right in, because I think if there's one thing emerging from our show as a consistent theme is us making mistakes and trying to encourage people that you got to get started. I mean, hopefully you make as few mistakes as possible. We try to head those off a bit by discussing them here, but I think we love to hear those disasters, because then our listeners hopefully won't repeat them. I always tell my kids, learn from your friends' mistakes as much as possible, so you avoid your own.
Exactly.
So, and it's also, the other thing I always like to emphasize is it's not, I say to my kids sometimes, if you're not failing, you're not trying, you're not pushing your boundaries. So if you hadn't done this initial disaster, I guess you wouldn't necessarily be where you are today. And I mean, so how did you respond to that? How did you get from there to here?
Well, I mean, I think what you're saying is true. I mean, the saying is, a wise man learns from his mistakes. A genius learns from other people's mistakes.
Yeah,
I like
that. That's the truth. That's the truth.
Steal that.
So hopefully this program is we're teaching geniuses. So that way they don't have to make mistakes that, that we've already made and so on. But essentially what transpired was that I went to an attorney, and the attorney asked me if I knew anything about landlord tenant laws. I said no. And he said, well, I normally represent tenants, and I don't care who the tenant is. I can get them to stay in your house for at least 6 months, not pay you a dime, and they'll probably trash the house on the way out. So this is what he was telling me. But to cut a long story short, this family, they applied to get rental assistance from the government, and they were denied, and they appealed, and their appeal was accepted. And this is a real religious family. Okay, so every time I would go there to collect rent, they would say, well, don't worry, young man, according to Matthew 28 verse 15, the Lord is going to provide you, so be okay. So this is what they were telling me when I was trying to collect my rent. Okay, give me scriptures. Anyway, so this is going on for a while. Anyway, so the government accepted their appeal, and they paid all their back rent. They paid the water bill.
Wow.
And they gave them rental assistance through the Section 8 program.
Well, that's great.
Okay. And I met up with the lady afterwards. She said, I told you the Lord is good. I told you God will provide. See?
I found that banks don't usually take that in payment for mortgages. Yeah.
But that was my experience. First one. I mean, looking back now, we can all laugh about it. At the time, obviously, it was pure hell. But I knew what not to do. I learned about screening tenants. I learned about landlord tenant laws in DC. I learned about, the rental assistance program. I learned about how to deal with tenants to create win-win scenarios, and so on. So from that experience, I then bought up my second house, and then my third house, and kept on going until 2003. In fact, it was June the 6th, 2003. And that's when my salary at my job equaled my rental income in terms of cash flow. So I was able to transition out of the corporate world and move into the real estate investing full time. So I've been real estate investing since June the 6th, 2003 full time.
That's so funny, because that's very parallel to my ventures into real estate investing full time.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer by trade, and so,
yes, I am as well.
Yeah, and so I had been trying to. I was divorced with 2 kids, making a pretty big salary, and we were doing real estate investing on the side. At the time, we were doing a lot of pre-foreclosures, fix and flips, and so it took me to from 1999 to about 2003 before I finally felt comfortable enough to leave my full-time engineering job and just do real estate time.
Same thing. And but at least for me. Obviously you have to have a plan B. You can't just jump off and, quit your day job. But I mean, I just wanted to, I was getting tired of that corporate. I did a lot of travel, and, after a while it kind of gets boring, it gets monotonous, and it's not really enjoyable. And so I had to put certain systems in place, things that are repeatable, certain things that, I won't call it autopilot, but things that it's sort of repeatable, and therefore you can slowly but surely surround yourself with the right team, the right people, and the right processes, such that you can make it happen.
So let's bring it current forward today. Some of the systems are what? Are you on AppFolio or Propertyware? What are you on, like, for your rentals?
To manage your rentals?
Yeah. Do you self-manage your rentals, or do you have somebody else manage them for you?
No, I manage all my rentals myself.
Okay.
Do you use software to do it?
Yeah, we use Buildium. Buildium is the property management software that we use. Okay. And but again, my philosophy is I do most of my tenants are Section 8 voucher holders. I've been through 4 cycles, real estate downturns since '87, and cycles are not pretty. Downturns are not pretty. No. Especially, you don't want to be the guy standing up when the music stops. And what I've learned is that when you go through cycles like we're going through now with COVID-19, people lose their jobs, people get their hours cut, and people can't pay their rent. And there's nothing worse than having a great tenant who's lost their job. It's a very uncomfortable situation. And, because you got to do what you got. Well, you can't now, obviously, with the moratoriums, but I mean, it's a very difficult situation. And one thing I like about the Housing Choice Voucher Program, Section 8 program, is that, there's a certain level of security in terms of guaranteed income stream. Good times, bad times, it doesn't matter. But, and this is really, I think, which is what differentiates me from a lot of other landlords who focus in this area, is I realized that the absolute key to being a buy and hold investor, holding this stuff for a long time, is to minimize turnover. Because if you don't minimize turnover, i.e. that revolving door, a tenant comes in, they stay for a year, they leave, you got to paint it again, you got to clean it again, you got to advertise again, you get no cash flow. You make no money if you can't, master that turnover.
That's right. It's all about longevity and stability.
It's the key.
So what do you think the keys are to mastering turnover? How do you increase your retention?
Okay, lots of different ways. First of all, is to understand who your customer is. Like it's strictly a business approach. Okay, you take it from a business. You take landlording or buy and hold investing from a business perspective, which is one, who is your customer? I.e., where's your revenue coming from? In my case, obviously, in our cases, it's the tenant. Okay, who is that customer? What are their needs? And what I realized is that for a lot of voucher holders, the stereotype doesn't always apply. The stereotype for a Section 8 is, unfortunately, they're going to trash your house. They're going to cause mayhem, confusion, drama, chaos. And you got to wear a bulletproof vest when you collect rent. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, that's the stereotype. And but there's a large group of voucher holders that absolutely does not apply to. Absolutely does not. They are no different than you and I. Okay. They want to live in a decent area, just like you do. They don't want to be shot at, no more than you want to be shot at. They want the best for their children and their family, and they want to rent from a decent landlord, not a slumlord. And they want to live in a decent neighborhood close to attractive amenities like shopping, recreation, transportation, and those kind of things. So that is the group of voucher holders I cater to. That's what I call a tier 1 voucher holders. And so what do these folks want? They want a decent house in a decent neighborhood. Okay, so I target certain neighborhoods where I buy. I just don't buy anything anywhere. I fix them up in such a way that I wouldn't mind living there myself.
That's right. Okay?
And I mean, we just finished a couple of rehabs. One's in Columbia Heights, one's in Old City. We spent $200,000 on the renovation.
On each or 100 each?
Oh, on each. One was $275. One was $225 on the renovation, on the rehab. Yeah, okay, these are beautiful homes, and if we had, I could show you the photographs. It's beautiful. I wouldn't have a problem living there myself. Okay.
Yeah, but how much are you charging in rents though? That's expensive.
Well, the rents vary. I mean, once you understand how the voucher program works, I mean, it's based on the neighborhood and also the number of bedrooms. Mm-hmm. So, so there's a sweet spot where you can make it work. And, but essentially
is that like 4 and 5 bedrooms?
Yeah. Most of my houses are 4, 5, and 6 bedroom houses.
Oh, okay.
Columbia
Heights.
I'm sorry?
was saying, in Columbia Heights, it's a hot neighborhood. I mean, the what you can get for, one bedroom in Columbia Heights is much more than I could get in my place that we just bought over in Southeast.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you have to know the neighborhood, like Dr. Joe said. Some neighborhoods are going to fetch you a lot more.
Right.
It's very hot right now in DC.
Yeah, but go back to the original question. So you find out who the customer is, just like any business, what their needs are, like any business. And then you target that, you have a product that meets their needs. Okay. So you have nice houses in nice areas, and so you can attract them. And then that's part one. Part two is, how do you make sure they stay?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you minimize that turnover? And that's where I try to differentiate myself from the other folks, because I realize that at the end of the day, you can have all the ROI projections, cash on cash returns, spreadsheet formula. You can do all that stuff. It really means nothing if you can't find good tenants who's going to take care of your property and stay a long time. It means nothing unless you can do that. So once you find good people, the next thing is how you keep them to stay. And what I do, every Mother's Day, all my tenants get bouquets of flowers. Every Christmas, they all get Christmas presents. If the kids get A's at school, I give them $50.
Oh my God, that's great.
And we have a
I
time.
like that. That's nice.
We have a time.
When can I move in?
I can send you an application if you want. We have a timeshare in Virginia, where we can invite guests for 3 days, 2 nights. All our tenants get free vacations.
Wow.
That's really
This
nice.
is off the charts.
Mhm.
And I thought we were good landlords. You are the best landlord.
Exactly.
How many properties do you have in your portfolio, Dr. Joe?
31.
All right. So
Nice.
okay.
It's a decent portfolio.
That's good. Yeah.
These are all single family. These aren't multi-families.
Okay,
So these are individual houses. So they're all spread around, mainly in Washington. I've got some in Montgomery County and Prince George's County as well. But again, going back, so what you try to do is, I'm trying to okay, let's just say this. Let's pick on someone. Let's pick on Sam. Okay, and let's assume that Edward is the tenant.
Well, Sam has bad credit. So does Ed.
Okay, let me pick on Sandra then. Okay.
No. Leave me alone. My credit is excellent.
Okay. So let's say that Ed is who I say. Ed is the tenant. Okay, and Sam is the other landlord. Okay, you follow me?
Yep.
So Sam is a great tenant that Edward is a great tenant that Sam and I are looking to attract. Okay, it's a competition for Ed. Okay, he's a great tenant. He pays his rent on time. He's got great rental history. Every landlord's dream. Okay, and Sam and I are competing for Ed. Okay, so my position is, I'm going to blow Sam away. He doesn't stand a chance. Okay.
Well,
okay.
Okay. So how are you going to do that?
You have it by, if Edward is let's say a voucher holder, and I'm going to have a nice house in a nice area and a great product. Okay. The other quote unquote Section 8 landlords are your typical Section 8 landlords, okay house in an okay neighborhood or crappy neighborhood, or a crappy landlord with a slumlord. So that's what Ed is usually used to seeing. Okay. And so he sees my home. My home is staged. Okay. Like a model home.
Wait a minute. Your
Ed
rental
loses his mind when he sees this.
time out. Your rental is staged?
Yeah. When I'm showing my houses, they are staged.
Rentals are staged. Wow.
Yes. So when Ed comes to my home, he sees a staged house. Okay. With a beautiful home that I wouldn't have a problem living in myself. Okay. And then he goes to Sam's house.
Oh, that's gonna be a piece of shit.
That's junk.
Well, I would say that.
Sam's might be painted. Yeah, he should be painted.
He probably just
be clean.
Yeah, he'll probably paint it, and that's about it.
Mine's staged with a sofa on the front porch.
Yeah, all right.
And you might see some dead roaches that need to be vacuumed up.
Right.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, though, I mean, Sam's would be painted and clean and have carpet, but it isn't going to be staged.
No
chance.
No chance.
That's
Fascinating, because immediately you'd notice that
Yeah.
that difference. But
Differentiator,
and I
yeah.
don't want to jump ahead of you, but what extra? I'm all right. I'm the tenant, and I'm saying to myself, this seems almost too good to be true.
Right.
What is he going to expect out of me? What's Dr. Joseph going to
Well, no,
expect
remember
out
though,
of me?
this is
Where
a Section
Sam
8. This is a
won't?
voucher holder,
This
right?
is we're
Right.
dealing with this voucher holder who are no different than you and I. They have the same expectations to their family that you do. Okay.
Sure.
Society for a lot of times is written them off. Okay.
That's right.
And what's it
Treated
called?
badly.
My home is a dream come true that never in their wildest dreams did they ever think they'll get a chance to get. Never. Okay. That a landlord with my A1 type caliber home is open to and is willing and accepting of voucher holders. It's very seldom they run into those kind of situations.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so this is a one-shot deal whereby if they don't get my house, they'll never see another one because all they're used to seeing are Sam's houses.
Right. That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Sammy's over here and I'm over here. Okay. And so Sam doesn't stand a chance. And so when they come to my home, it's something unique, it's something different, and therefore they're more likely to want to apply for my home. And therefore I can set the bar high in terms of screening. These families are not intimidated because they pay their rent on time. They're the Eds of this world. They're good tenants. They're good tenants. They're just looking for a nice house in a nice area where their families. And if you don't believe me, I will send you some videos.
But are these 100%? But are these 100% voucher holders, or are these 90% or 95% voucher holders? What percentage of the voucher holders are you talking about? Are they 80%? Like, do they have to pay some portion of the rent, or is it just 100% voucher holders?
It's based on their income and their family size. So I don't make that determination. The housing authority does that. So the housing authority issues the voucher. And either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bedroom voucher. Okay, they go looking for homes, and if a landlord accepts them, then they'll fill the paperwork out and submit it to the housing authority, and and then they'll calculate out of the total rent how much does the tenant pay and how much does the housing authority pay. It's typically around 30% to 100%. Well, the tenants usually pay anywhere from 30% to 0.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay. So it just depends based on their family size and also their income. And so again, I'm competing with Sam. My goal is that Ed, when he sees my home, he says, I'm not even interested in going to see Sam. I'm not going there. This is the house for me. This is a dream come true. This is something I've yearned for. This is something which I'll never see again. So I've got to make my best foot. I got to put my best foot forward for this home. Does that make sense?
It does.
Sure.
But remember, though, here's the difference. Sam wants the 100% voucher holders, whereas you might pick up a 80% voucher holder. And then the next question is, how do you make sure that you're collecting that other 20%?
Yeah, but the Eds of this world, they'll pay their 20%. They'll pay it.
But based on what, though? Because are you pulling their credit report too?
You do all that. You do the landlord verifications, you do the credit, you do the criminal history, you do the what's it called, social media. So you do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And but the Eds of this world, okay, these are every landlord. Ed is every landlord's dream. They pay their rent.
Okay.
They keep their place up.
You must have 50 Eds trying to get into your house, right? That have the right, credentials. They pay their rent. They have the housing, the DC housing voucher. They have all of this. How do you keep? Because my one little house over there in Southeast, I got like 5-10 requests, a week trying to see that house. How are you keeping? How do you decide? And are you seeing like a floodgate of, potential renters who all look like Ed? They look good. How do you make a decision?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you've only got one house.
Right.
Okay. And so there's 2 Eds vying for this one house, or 3 Eds, or 10 Eds.
Right.
Okay. Vying for this one home. What do you do? Okay.
Yes.
So what you do is you raise the standard of your screening. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And say, okay, then I'm raising the bar. Okay. Instead of this, it's this. Okay. I go to the people's homes. as part of the screening process. I want to see how you keep your home.
We've heard that before.
Charlie's got the big thumbs up on that one.
Yes, he gets a double thumbs up.
Double thumbs up.
Yeah, because the only way I'll know how my house is going to be 3 months from now, the only way, is not through whether I dress well, I got a nice car, or I've got a high credit score. The only way you'll know how your house will be in 3 months is to go to Ed's house.
Yep.
That's the only way you'll know. There's no other way. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's not how well Ed talks, dresses, or what kind of dog he has. It's totally irrelevant. It's how does Ed keep his home today? Okay. And because that's how my house is going to be in 3 months. Now, your question is going to be, well, hold on a minute. Who the hell are you to go to Ed's house? You know, I mean, Ed may say, well,
I might come on over after I see your house.
Exactly. That's the point, you see. When you got people like Ed, he said, no problem. You come to my house right now. Let's go. Right. I keep my house just like this. He's not intimidated by this at all.
Yep.
And so you can raise the bar. And you still have applicants who will gladly jump over that because you got a unique product that Ed will never see again.
Yeah, that's right. And so one of the things that we do, and I say this all the time, is I do the same thing that you do because we have a lot of rentals, but our rentals are mostly in Northern Virginia. And so we're, and primarily our voucher holder program is in Prince William County. And so one of the things that I do is exactly what you just said. When they fill out that application and send it in, I happen to just be in their neighborhood. And you know what? I'm driving around their neighborhood and I happen to just knock on their door. And so when they, of course, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be home, right? Because a lot of times they're voucher holders. And so when I knock on the door, usually, of course, I could tell by the landscaping, number one. Number two, when they open the door, I quickly look in. And then when I introduce myself, who I am, they're really happy to see me, right? Because I always introduce myself, we're such and such owners of this property that you applied for. I happen to be driving by the neighborhood. I wanted to come meet you. And a lot of times they love it. And so that's our number one criteria. Matter of fact, when I show up, I have already memorized the application. We've already run the credit report. So if we get into further discussions, I want to know cleanliness, but I also want to know honesty, because a lot of times with the voucher holders is, they might have dinged up credit. They've got some issues going on. And so as long as they're honest and trustworthy, they're in the door. And the third thing that we look at is how long have they been at this address?
Yes.
Because in our purview, we want to help them raise their kids.
Yes.
We want them to be in our properties for 10 plus years. And we probably have, Sam, how many voucher holders do we have now? We probably have about 15. And so I would say out of about the 15 voucher holders that we have, 13 of them have been there for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
We're certainly not like you. We're certainly not. You're called a red carpet landlord. Okay, you're red carpet. We're just good landlords. And so what we feel a good landlord is certainly not like you. You're red carpet. You're like 5 rungs up above us. We just think that whenever they call us and they want us to do something about the property, we're there the next day. Exactly. And so our maintenance guys are there the next day. Anything they want, anything they need. Now, once in a while, if they've been there a few years or 5 years or whatever, let's say they've got, tile in the kitchen or they got carpet that needs to be replaced or something like that, they'll just come to us, or they need a bunch of rooms painted. We'll go and do that kind of stuff. So we think we're a good landlord. We're nothing like you. You are a red carpet landlord.
Well, this raises a question to me about the red carpet aspect. I'm just putting some of the pieces together. I'm not Ed the renter. Hopefully, I'm Ed who knows some of the financial.
You're Ed the voucher holder. You're
not the voucher holder. But I'm wondering. All right, I'm a smart voucher holder, or smart Ed, or smart ass, whatever it is. But I'm wondering about Dr. Joe. So I hear about the Columbia Heights, great location, great renovation, consistent with the red carpet. Beautiful. I would love to have a property in that neighborhood, and the long-term appreciation is going to be great, especially now. It's very clear. So, but with your numbers, are you banking on, and we've had on another fellow, Jad, who does the BRR, and we talked about the 1% rule and all of that. Are you, with these staging and other expenses, maybe not having positive cash flow initially, you're playing a longer term game with the appreciation, or are you able to find properties where, even with this sort of red carpet, that it's still positive pretty quickly, cash flow positive. Because, you know, Sam and Charlie, they cry in their soup if it's not cash flow positive right away. So I'm just curious how that plays in. Maybe the red carpet way's better to be cash flow quicker. Just you have to find the right property to do it.
Sure, yeah. All my properties are positive cash flow. I don't buy negative cash flow properties. So, you know, it's got to support itself from day one. And but what I've learned is that the real money in the DC area, especially Washington DC, is appreciation, hands down, no debate. And so it's nice to get a little cash flow here and there, but the real money is buying stuff for, you know, because we all know three things this always happens for investors who've been around. One is they always say, "Oh my God, if only I started earlier." Yeah. Always, okay. When it was cheap, okay. So 5 years from now, you'll be saying, "Oh my God, if only I started in 2021 when it was cheap."
Oh yeah, for sure.
Not so sure, but we'll see. Yeah.
Well,
at some point you'll say,
yeah,
it's the way. Yep. Okay, I'll talk about that in a second, but yeah. So I wish I started earlier. I wish I bought more. Okay, that's.
I wish I never sold any of them.
And that's the third one.
Yeah.
I wish I kept them. Yeah. Okay, so they're the three things that any person who's been an investor in the DC area will probably tell you. I wish I started earlier. I wish I bought more, and I wish I kept more. And so the issue is, how do you do that? You know, and how do you do that without running ragged? Okay, how do you do that such that the numbers make sense? And how do you do that in a downturn? Okay, when people lose their jobs, how do you do all that? And how do you get people to stay 5, 10? My longest tenant is 24 years. Okay, wow. on a 15-year mortgage. Okay, so let's discuss that one. Yep. So you know, this is not by accident. This is a calculated strategy. Okay, people don't stay 5, 10, 15, 20 years by accident. Okay, it doesn't happen that way. Okay, it's by saying, okay, this is a business. Okay, where's my biggest expenses? My biggest expenses, my biggest cost centers are turnover and vacancies. It is. It wipes out all your profits if you can't manage that. You make no money if you can't manage that.
But you also got to be smart about your debt service.
Yes, you got to be smart about your debt service. Mm-hmm. And but the thing about, because this DC area is so expensive, the issue is, how do you get cash flow? And you know, and the way the Section 8 program works is that your rent is based on the number of bedrooms. Yeah. Okay, so if
and the neighborhood, right? And the
neighborhood, yes. So if Sandra and I bought buy the same house, okay, in the same neighborhood, as a 3-bedroom, you know, you get one rent. As a 4-bedroom, you get a different rent. As a 5-bedroom, you get a different rent. So the same asset, you get 3 different rents, which means that you get 3 different cash flows. And you know, so the question is, how do you turn a 3-bedroom into a 5? Okay, how do you do that? And that's where, you know, that's what I do. I turn these 3 bedrooms into 4, 5, and 6s. And I have the wherewithal to do that, and I teach people how to do that.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
the best way to do it.
That's
brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, what's an example of a difference if I get a 3-bedroom in a decent zip code? What's the difference in the Section 8 rent for that versus a 5? I mean, just a range. Obviously, you don't know to the dollar.
Yeah, I mean, let's pick a neighborhood. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But
do you guys anything in Petworth?
No, I've got nothing in Petwood. I've got something missing. Yeah, I've got Petwood.
Well, Columbia Heights is okay. Columbia Heights is fine.
Okay. Let's take Columbia Heights.
Okay.
Okay, let's have a look. So I think for a 3-bedroom in Columbia Heights, I think it's 3,000 something. You know, 3,000 something. Again, I'm not looking for. I don't have any 3-bedrooms. I only have 4s and 5s. For a 4-bedroom, it's 4,700.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So that supports a lot of reconstruction costs.
What's a 5?
54.
Yeah. Now we're talking.
So that's Columbia Heights. Now, if you go to another neighborhood, it may be different. Yeah. So if you go to, let's say, Petworth, it's different. If you go to Brightwood, it's slightly different. If you go to Riggs Park, it's slightly different. If you go to Marshall Heights or Deanwood, so it's all based on the neighborhoods and the number of bedrooms. So that's essentially what it is. So
so Dr. Joe, so that same 4-bedroom in Marshall Heights, that's where my place is gonna fetch you $2,000.
Yes.
$2,033.
Yes.
So that same property that he's getting $4,700 for in Columbia Heights, maybe 5 miles away.
Yeah, but the cost of that house is a little bit more.
It's going to be a little bit more,
or a lot of bit more.
But you're getting another.
The renovation costs are the same. The renovation costs are the same no matter where you do it. Mm-hmm. So it's all your buy price of the underlying asset before you.
But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you start in Marshall Heights, that's okay. You start Marshall Heights. If you start in Capitol Heights, it is what it is. You got to start somewhere, and you can't start in Georgetown. It's too expensive.
That's right. You really can't start in Columbia Heights.
You work up there. You work to that. But the key is you got to start. Otherwise, you'll be oohing and ahhing, and 5 years from now, you're still thinking about, oh my God, if only I bought in 2021.
No, you're right. And the other thing that you really haven't touched on is obviously cash flow is important, but the other thing, and appreciation, but the other thing is the depreciation that you could write off on your taxes.
Yeah. There's tax benefits. Like the house in Columbia Heights, the first one I bought, $47K. Yeah. I mean, that house, we got a $250,000 line of credit on it, HELOC on it. And so that one house has now bought me 4 more houses using that line of credit. Mm-hmm. So, you can leverage the power of real estate. When you do a buy and hold strategy, when you ride the appreciation, you let that debt equity work for itself. And then that debt equity can now come to life by buying more appreciating assets.
Well, that's why I wonder, like your Columbia Heights example, I always wonder about this initial number. Like I would think if I run all my numbers and I do your model, if I buy that property and after I've done the renovations and I rent it out like I anticipate, and it's zero cash flow, it's just neutral and maybe sometimes even goes negative for a repair, should I go ahead and buy that? I mean, it seems to me, or even what if it's cost me $10,000 a year? I'm negative $10,000 a year on that property, but it's freaking Columbia Heights. And so I'm thinking in 5 years, it's going to be better. Where do you draw that line? Are you happy at a zero cash flow to start? Are you happy at a negative cash flow? I mean, obviously we're all thrilled by positive, but what do you think is okay to do and for yourself? I mean, I don't know what anybody else it's good for.
Yeah. It depends on your cash needs. If your cash needs are met elsewhere, okay, like, if you got a job or if you got another income stream, then you may be okay with zero cash flow. You may be okay with slightly negative because your cash needs, your electric bill is being paid somewhere else. Right. So you're okay. Now, if you're going to the first house I bought, like the cash flow I was getting was $50. After all that hell I was going through, at the end of the day, I was making $50. Okay. So anyone in their right mind is saying, what in the world are you doing? For $50, you're getting this headache. Yeah. But I knew the power of real estate. I knew the power of capital cities because I've done a lot of travel around the world. They're all the same, whether it's London, Rome, Paris, they're the same. And I knew at some point, DC being the capital of the country is going to appreciate it. It is. It's just the way it is. And but my cash needs, Ed, to answer your question, was met by my job. Right. I didn't have to live off that $50. If I had to live off that $50, I couldn't buy it because, I still got to eat and so on. So it depends on your cash situation, your cash needs. If your cash needs are met elsewhere, then maybe the buy and hold strategy makes sense straight away. If the cash needs are not being met, then obviously you got to pick another strategy which will generate you cash. It could be a flip or whatever it is, wholesaling, to generate the cash to allow you the buffer to then start the buy and hold.
That's right.
Cool. Because even in that example, you're saying you could have gone and got a job bagging groceries for the amount of time you must have spent in dealing with that headache to make $50 a month. You probably could have gotten a second job, but the sweat equity that you put into it ended up, I bet, within what, 5 years, you were absolutely thrilled with that property. 10 years. When was the point you were really happy with that?
I was happy when that tenant paid the $5,000 water bill.
Party time. Yeah.
You know, but I mean, fast forward 10 years from that house was, I think it was $140K. Okay. And 10 years from that, it was 300 and something. Okay. So it was expensive when I bought it for 47. People saying I was getting ripped off. 10 years later, it's 140. People say, man, 140 for Columbia Heights. Are you crazy? That's ridiculous. Then it becomes another 10 years, it's 350. 350 for Columbia Heights? Are you crazy? No way.
But now what is it? 700?
Now it's 700, 800, 900,000.
Yeah.
You know, and people say, man, 900, you crazy?
Yeah, you crazy?
You know,
right.
It's the same. It's the same. It's you know, when you've been around, it's the same dynamics. Okay, it's always expensive. You know, but the cash flow is not based on your. I mean, you're talking about gross cash flow, which is your you know, sort of the you know, your debt service finance your income. Right. My position is that is irrelevant if you can't manage turnover and vacancy.
That's for sure. Yeah. That's the first lesson in the real estate. That's a great lesson.
If you can't
just think of what a month loss rent is on that property. That's a lot of money. Yeah.
So and that's what I realized is that I had to figure a way to stop that revolving door. I had to. Otherwise, I couldn't. It's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable business model. And that's when I started doing those other things which I talked about. You know, bouquets of flowers and Christmas presents, and you know, being a red carpet landlord.
So, will you share with us your actual turnover rate? What is it?
I think I'm averaging around 7 years a tenant now. Yeah. My longest tenant is 24 years. And I went to a house yesterday. She's been with me for 12 years. We just, you know, I mean, we just check it. I mean, I have an assistant who manages the property on my behalf because I couldn't find a management company that did it. I mean, no management company gives bouquets of flowers and Christmas presents and vacations.
They don't treat it as if it's their own property.
You do it pretty well if they answer the phone.
8 or 10% management fee. That's all.
Yeah. You know, I'm just another house in the portfolio of 1,000 other houses. Yeah. And if my house is vacant, well, they'll get to it when they get to it. You know?
That's
right. And so on. I can't. That wasn't going to work. That didn't work. I tried it once. Gave it to management company, and guaranteed. Every year there's a turnover, you know, because that's how they make money. You know, they make money.
They're going to make money coordinating and clean up and re-renting and possibly selling
and a leasing fee and so on. So they're well, I won't say they're incentivized, but I'm not saying that because I don't want to do a disservice to their business. I'm just saying that the incentive model is skewed. Okay.
Right. It's not aligned correctly.
It's not aligned at all. Yeah. As an investor, you want zero turnover. Okay, as a management company, they make money from turnovers.
Right, so it's easy to look at these things. If the tenant is asking you over 5 years, hey, will you do my carpet? Will you do some paint? Will you do some counters? You lay out a plan for them. Oh, okay, next year I'll do the floors. The next year I'll do the cabinets and the counters. You know, you sort of grow with them. You know, if they're doing their end of the bargain, you stick with them and support them.
They're I won't say they're family members, but you see them as customers. You know, it's a business, okay? Mm-hmm. It's no longer a landlord, quote, landlord tenant. It's a business customer relationship. And because they're the ones bringing in revenue, okay? And without that revenue stream, you're dead. And it's cheaper to keep your existing customer happy than it is to go find another one, okay? So it's cheaper for me to give bouquets of flowers.
Way cheaper.
It's way cheaper than having a turnover. Especially if the rent's like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Every turnover is at least 2 months lost income.
So then, how does your timeshare work? I'm curious about that. That's pretty incredible.
Well, we have a timeshare at Massanutten. You know, it's a couple of hours away from here.
Okay.
And so you can invite guests to go there for 3 days, 2 nights. You know, all they got to do is put up with a 90-minute sales pitch.
Oh, I see.
And
That's funny.
so what's it called? So we invite our guests to go there. We tell them, if they pitch you, tell them no. And they go 3 days, 2 nights there I mean, again, for a voucher
Nice.
holder who doesn't travel.
Yeah, they love that.
And
it's a wonderful thing. You get to the mountains.
Yeah, get to the mountains, and it's a great place, a little getaway for the family, which many of them never have a chance.
That's a good point.
It's free.
Yeah, it's nice.
So that's how I, destroy Sam.
You seem very excited about destroying Sam, I have to say, but good business people are competitive, right?
So many people are out for
Sam. Well, you know what I'm saying.
And Sam needs to vacuum those roaches up too.
Get them up. I'm so busy handling the litigation as I'm served different documents from the tenants. I don't have time to clean up behind my. But
that's a good point, though. So, Sam, Dr. Joe, we've heard some stories about DC landlord tenancy and how it's so tenant friendly in DC. It sounds like you've had a great experience in DC with your tenants. I don't want you to tell me any bad stories, but is there anything to say to someone who would maybe be reluctant to purchase in DC because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's screening. Okay, it boils down to your screening, and if you can't put systems in place to screen well, everybody has a history. Okay, a rental history, and your job as a landlord is to understand that history and not short circuit that. Okay. And because if it's a good history, then the chances are they're going to continue that history. Okay. If it's a bad history, then, I've had people come to my home because when they show up for the house, you don't know who they are. They could say, my name's, Charlie. I don't know. When in fact it's Ed. Okay. And so Ed shows up at my house and he says he's Charlie. Okay, I don't know. He fills an application saying he's Charlie, and so how do you make sure that that doesn't get through? You ask for ID, simple thing like that. I've had many people who showed up and said, "Oh yeah, my name's Charlie." When I ask for their ID, they say, "Oh, I left it in the car." And they go to the car and drive off.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
It's a good screening method.
Yeah, I've had many people who say my landlord is Sam, when in fact the real landlord is Sandra. It's a ruse. And so how do you overcome that? There's lots of these things. I call them professional tenants. There are professional tenants out there who know the game. They know the laws better than you do. And they know that once they're in, you can't get them out. And they know how to say all the right words that you want to hear. They know it, okay? And so it's your job to be aware of that, and because ignorance is not bliss in DC.
That's right.
And so on. So you have to do what you got to do to make sure that you are, in fact, renting to the right person. And that's where you have all these checks and balances as part of the screening process. That's the most thorough thing that I do. And once you do that, most people, at least the group I'm trying to target, when you tell them that this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to call your current landlord, previous landlord, I'm going to verify this, I'm going to verify that, I'm going to check this, I'm going to check that, I'm going to go to your home, okay? It's almost like a self-screening mechanism. The ones who are kind of dodgy are going to say, well, it's not worth me putting an application in because this guy is pretty serious. Let me go to Sam, he's going to be impressed by my my dress or my suit or whatever, and and he'll buy into my little game that I'm playing. But the ones who have nothing to hide, and the ones that are looking for this opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity that I'm providing them with my home, they say fine, no problem. And so again, it's screening, and once they're in, managing that relationship such that it's a win-win partnership.
Yeah, and I think we've talked a lot about Section 8, but all of this I think applies to non-Section 8 tenants. I had a person that rented from me who lost her townhouse in the middle of the 2007 2008 mess, and she was upfront about it. She wanted to move back into the same area, and what is it now, 2020, and she's still there. She's been just the best.
Yes.
She's had a few, delays on payments for whatever issue, but you work with people and get that role. And she's not Section 8 or anything. She just has a good, hardworking person who got unlucky. Talk about the timing of the market. She bought it through no fault of her own at the worst possible time. How would her credit was toast, but that doesn't make her a bad person or a bad renter.
Yeah. Bad things happen to good people. That's life.
It really does.
And you understand that. Obviously, if you're an individual landlord, you can sort of work with people, whereas maybe apartment buildings cannot, because they have very, very, solid criteria, which they can't sort of adjust, and so on.
And that leads me to another question, then, Dr. Joe, and this is a good time for you to probably pitch. What is your future plans? I see that you obviously are educating people. What else do you have in store in the future?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to encourage more people to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Because for every house I have 5, 10 applications. I can't meet the demand. Okay. It's not possible. For every 10 ads, there's one of me. And, so the pie is big enough for everybody, as far as I'm concerned.
We agree.
And I've tried the traditional Section 8 landlording way. It doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work for me anyway. The way I do it now works. It's time tested. It works. And you get tenants who essentially, are good people, look to take care of your home. Anyway, so I'm trying to encourage more investors to do what I'm doing. So I'm teaching people what I do.
Where can we find out more? Where can we find out more from you?
You go to my website. Go to my website. Joe Asamoah. That's Joe Asamoah, ASAMOAH.com. In fact, I'm going to be teaching a class on. I'm calling it the Section 8 Playbook. The Section 8 Playbook.
That's a great class.
Yeah. That's what I've been sharing with you, because the Section 8 essentially it's a 3-legged stool. Okay. One leg, you have the investor who provides the home. The second leg is the tenant. And the third leg is the housing authority. Okay. And so for those 3 legs to work, you have to understand all those 3 components. And then on top of that, you have systems to kind of put it on autopilot. So I'm trying to encourage more people to do it. I'm teaching this way. This is how I do it. This is the 35 years of blood, sweat, and tears. A wise man learns from mistakes. Genius learns from other people's mistakes. This is the genius method.
I love it. Well, let me just say, Dr. Joe, clearly Sam needs to take your course, because I'm not renting his place until I start getting that red carpet treatment.
Right. Get your flowers. A lot. We're going to send you flowers, Ed.
Yeah, it's about time you do something nice for me. But we need to take this course for sure and see. It's an interesting.
I don't know when this webcast is going. In fact, I have a webinar tomorrow. The 25th. 25th. Yeah, tomorrow 7 p.m. 7 p.m. I have a webinar, free webinars. Go to my website. You can sign up for that one. Otherwise, if this is broadcast afterwards, there will be an on-demand version of that. Okay. And so you can listen to, I'll share some of these secrets. And I have a class which is going to kick off March the 27th, 4-part class. It's going to be great. It's the definitive way to do it this way. In fact, last week I was contacted by DCHA, DC Housing Authority, and they offered to make me the brand ambassador.
That's good. Wow.
That's wonderful.
For the Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Congratulations.
I'm trying to encourage more landlords to do it, to consider the Section 8 program, and let them know the benefits, but also let them know how to do it the right way. So, that's what I do.
And again, your website is www.joeasamoah, Asamoah.com, correct?
Yes. And I'm also on Instagram, Dr. Dr. Joe Asamoah, Dr. Joe Asamoah, Joeasa.
And then you're on LinkedIn as well, I see, right?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, but Instagram's the best way to reach me on social media.
Okay.
And but I mean, I'm trying to encourage, because look, my thing is that you can make money, okay, doing this way, but more importantly, you can make a difference in people's lives.
That's right.
I mean, one of my tenants I was speaking to about 2 months ago, she lives in one of my homes in Columbia Heights. I live in there. 2 of her kids have got 4.0 GPA, and I've got a full ride to go to college. Okay. And she said there is no way they could have done that if they weren't in that neighborhood, being around different people, going to better schools, and so on. She said there was no way that would have happened. You know, the same kids. I mean, they were in, I forgot which part of DC they were before that. But just by, moving to a different area, being around, surrounding yourself, different people, different friends, we can make a difference in people's lives. We can make generational differences.
That's and that's what that's doing. And that's the benefit of the voucher choice program and how it can actually help generations of families. And that's so important.
Yeah. So, so that's my thing, is that, yes, I'll show you how to do this, hopefully, because, I mean, I was there on Saturday. I went to, this is where when I go to the home, and I do the home visit. My home visits aren't unannounced, they're announced. So we make an appointment, so I go there, not like you, Charlie. But what's it called? We make an appointment, I go there, I do a walk through the home. And so on Saturday we did one, and I offered the family the home. She currently lives in Congress Heights, in Staten Road, and I have this house in Columbia Heights. So you should have been there when I announced her and told her she got my home. You should. I've got it on video.
Oh, you do? Wow.
Oh my goodness! You should hear people screaming, shouting, jumping up and down for joy. And so I've got that one. On Sunday, one of my students, he's got another house in Columbia Heights, and we went to another person's home, also in Southeast. We offered her home, his home. I mean, you got to be there to see these reactions. These are, I mean, people are crying.
Maybe you could send us a link to a couple of these reactions, and we could post those as well.
Oh yeah,
we'd love to. Put your name out there and thank you and put a link out to some of these reactions.
I mean, you got to be there when these things happen. At last, one lady, her concern. She lived in Congress Heights in Southeast. Her concern every day was that her children will be shot dead on the way home from school. That's. I mean, you're worried about. Is my Starbucks coffee too hot or cold?
Yeah, right.
She's worried about her kids getting killed on the way home from school. Okay. And when I offered her my property in Old City, I mean, it's like, at last, I don't have to have these worries. At last, my kids are going to a decent school. At last, we can be in a better environment. At last, we can be in a nicer home. At last. I mean, this is what's going on. And, these folks are really no different than you and I. They're just looking for somebody to give them a chance.
Well, it's like the old saying to do well by doing good. You can probably, people, I guess, make money as being slumlords, but I wouldn't do it. That's not a fun way to live your life where you're going the other end and you're making money, which is great. This is America, but you're doing good at the same time you're doing it. And
exactly.
That's a great way to do business and a great way to go through life. You hear that, Sam?
and that's essentially what I'm trying to do, is to change the sort of pivot whereby investors, it's not just about cash on cash return and ROI and I mean, that's good. You gotta consider that, but we can make a difference in people's homes, in lives. We can. And I think that if more people think this way, it's going to be a win for everybody. I mean, it's a win for the family. It's a win for me. It's a win for the community. It's a win for the neighborhood. It's a win for everybody.
It's a win for us learning from you today and finding out how you're doing this.
Well, hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it was informative.
It was.
And,
Thank you very much.
I shared with you. It's
Thanks.
only 1 hour, but I mean, I could talk about this obviously for all day. You know.
Oh, we'd love to have you back.
Well,
Yeah,
and we'll send Sam to your webinar and seminar, and then we'll hear we'll have you back as well.
Yeah, so I've got the webinar tomorrow at 7 p.m. Sign up for that. Go to my website. Otherwise, it should be on demand. And I do have a course on March the 27th that's starting, and it's going to be a great one.
We'll make sure this runs prior to that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I look forward to coming back if you invite me back.
Yep.
And this is who I am. This is what I do. I love it. I love being a landlord for Section 8 voucher holders in DC. Can you believe that?
Well, you have a great evening tonight.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
For you guys out there, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, please send us an email. It's above us. It's at yourstory@basementtales.com. yourstory@basementtales.com with 2 T's. So please reach out to us. Send us your stories. Send us your comments. Send us a topic you might want us to talk about in the future. And thank you very much for listening.